Hi friends, hello. Today I'm in front of you with a very important topic on what is the national language of India. So I just want to tell you that this topic is very huge, and in this video I would like to cover not only the debate which is happening since the last 1 month. I would like to give you a very holistic approach in this video from like say 1,000 years. So this would be video be a little long. I would request you to go be with me till the end. So I have structured the video into different sectors. First, we would go with background of the video, and that background I would take you like 1,000 years back, not like 1 month back discussion which many TV channels are doing, or some TV channels are even discussing from pre-independence, post-independence. So I would like to take you 1,000 years back, why and how this thing started. Second, I would like to give you a constitutional angle. What does our constitution say, and what are the scopes of it? The third is I will talk about different Indian states and their languages, basically to tell you the variety that we have in the country. Fourth, I would like to talk about a small history, very short history on what happened when different people tried to impose a language all across India. Fifth, I would like to talk of policy, the current policies that are being made, keeping in mind trying to have a national language, which could be we will come to it. I'll not tell you now. Yeah, and then after that, I would like to just tell you, after this covering all of this, I would like to take you with my views at the end, so that when you go through the entire history and the background, you form your own views, and at the end, when I give you my views, you can always have a rebuttal to it, and you can put your counter views in the comment section below. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel. This is my request at the beginning, because I don't know if you're going to be with me till the end. Yeah. To begin with the history part, as you know that before the Mughal came to India, India was a section of different states, tiny states or huge states, but all princely states. There was no concept of a entire country as a whole. So Mughals came in, they brought the concept of Hindustan, and that's how they had a huge empire which ranged from the Deccan to Bengal to the northern, and including the northern part and the western parts of India and Pakistan. Yeah, so they brought in the concept of an entire. And when they came in, they also had this problem that the country was so huge, and they had different languages. Like in eastern part, they spoke Bengali. In the Deccan part, they had Telugu. And in the northern part they had Hindi. In the Pakistan side they had Arabic, or they had other language. I don't know what was language over there. So overall, to bring uniformity in the decision making, to bring uniformity or ease of the administration, the Mughals started language Persian, because they came from Middle East area, the Iran side. So they brought in Persian, and they started using Persian as a language for administration. Yeah. Now, just a background to you, Persian also got, along with Arabic, they got combined with Hindi to form Urdu, and Urdu as a language was born in India. This is just a background to you. This Persian continued as administration even when the Mughal Empire started declining, and there were different separate states, and they had some people had their own had their local languages for administration. Some still used Persian. So then what happened is the revolt of 1857 happened. If you remember the Mangal Pandey episode, where the Britishers were asked the Indian soldiers to open the cartridge with their mouth to shoot, and the Indian soldiers refused with the belief, or with the saying that these cartridges had animal fat, which included pork and cow fat. So they had refused, and because of which the revolt of 1857 started. And when the revolt happened, there were a lot of separate states which revolted. And what happened is all these states rallied behind, they decided, you can say, to have the last Mughal emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar as king of India. So they all rallied support for Bahadur Shah Zafar. And what happened is, then the Britishers got their army, they suppressed the revolt everywhere, and then they got to Delhi. Till then, if you remember, also the capital was in Kolkata, and the capital was not Delhi. The Britishers, after they suppressed or they killed Bahadur Shah Zafar's children, They sent Bahadur Shah Zafar into exile to Malaysia or Rangoon, and then ensured that he did not have a line of successor. He died over there. If there are any historical inaccuracies in this video that you find, please do comment. I would like to be corrected. Yeah. So then in 1900, it was Sir Anthony McDonald. It was Sir Anthony McDonald. He was the Lieutenant General for Northwestern Frontier Province of Oudh, who allowed Devanagari. It was till then, even after they removed the last Mughal emperor, they were still using Persian for administrative purpose in all the government offices. So this Mr. Sir Anthony, he removed Persian and replaced it with Devanagari or Hindi. Two reasons. One, because Hindi was more a language of the common people and Persian was more a language of the elites. So he wanted it to be more easily accessible to the commoners. Second, it was more like a political move to ensure or to signify or to symbolize that the elites of that time, and to weaken their position, the socio-economic position, to weaken that. Yeah. Then after that, what we come to is the second part of the video, where I would like to talk to you about the constitutional angle. The constitutional angle, if you look at the Article 343 of the Constitution, says that the official language of the Union would be English and Hindi. And if you know that, and you would also know that our Constitution is written in English, not in Hindi or in any other vernacular. The second part, if you look at, is there's something called as the scheduled language, yeah, which includes basically all the major languages spoken in India. So these will also be used as official languages, but Hindi and English would still continue to be a language of instruction for the central government and all the other ministries. So that is specified in Article 3 of the Official Language Act, which says that the Hindi and English shall be used for resolution, general order, rules, notifications, administrative and other reports made by central government or ministries and different departments. Yeah. So this is the constitutional part of it. Also, if you should note at this point of time that the Constitution at no point says that India has any national language. The Constitution says that India has official languages, which are also mentioned in the 22nd schedule. Now I would like to come to you the third part, which is where we discuss the variety of languages spoken in India. So if I look at it, say statistically different numbers, Hindi is spoken in like 43.6% of population. After that, it is Bengali, which is spoken by 8.3%. And then it's Marathi 6.87%, and then Telugu 6.7%, and then Tamil 5.7%. So now common argument that you would say that Hindi is spoken by 43% or 44% of people, which is very high. But what I would like to tell you is Hindi is not, they tell it as Hindi, but a lot of people in this are different, basically regional languages like Maithili, Magadhi, Bhojpuri. And a lot of people, so this is important to understand that what they call as a Hindi belt is not actually a Hindi belt. It still has a lot of different dialects. Yeah? So a lot of people who usually lobby for Hindi as a national language or Hindi as a major language are the people who receive patronage for that language. So they do not have any incentive to promote or to keep alive these local languages like Maithili, Magadhi, Bhojpuri. They would rather have Hindi because they're getting patronage in that, or they are expert in that, and to ensure that they have higher number of people as like some politicians say, I have higher number of votes, I would win. So just to say that they have higher number of people, they include all these different dialects as theirs, as Hindi. They just overlook it. Yeah? Then I would come to you like with the current, with the history. Before I go to the history, there's two very popular examples that a lot of people give, because when you say that such a high number of people in India speak Hindi, so that is the reason why Hindi should be the national language. Two examples, you would get it from a lot of people. Now I would also give it to you. One, if you look around, the number of crows is more than the number of peacock, but still peacock is the national bird of India and not crow. Second, from the national bird we go to the national animal. The number of tigers is obviously much less than the number of say than the number of cows or the number of hen or the number of lost lot of other animals, goats for example, sheep, but still the national animal is tiger, not any other animal. Yeah, so a lot of these, you can say, the national animal and the national bird was decided because they were beautiful, they were magnificent. Same way you can say that, then use that argument to say the language which is most beautiful, which is most magnificent should be the national language. Then I would say, why not Bengali? Because Bengali has such a huge literature. Why not Kannada? Kannada has so high literature. Why not Tamil? Tamil is recognized as the oldest language on earth. These are also candidates, for being the national language. Even India's national anthem was written in Bengali. It was not written in Hindi. Going next, I would like to talk on the history. History, as I told you, it was first the Mughals who tried it, then the Britishers. They moved from Persian to Hindi and then to English, and then after that it was Indira Gandhi also, because I remember I went to SSB Center and Air Force SSB Center in Mysore, and the first thing that I saw when I entered is when we were writing our names and giving our mobiles. There was on the wall written. I not remember the exact code. I also could not find the exact code on Google. I did try searching it. If you could find it, please do put it in the comment below. She had said, I'm just seeing the summary. If अगर भारत को भाषा से जोड़ने का कोई एक भाषा है जिससे पूरे भारत को जोड़ा जाए, तो वो हिंदी है. She did not mention Hindi as a national language, but she wanted to unify India using Hindi. So this, in a way, you can say is a national language, and there was huge outrage and outcry against this in Tamil Nadu and a lot of the other southern states in the 1950s and the 1960s. I would not go into it because that does not make sense now, because a lot of you also know that a lot of southern states have been opposing it. Now coming to the current policy side. In the current policy side, if you remember, I think this month, beginning or last month, and the government passed something called as NEP, National Education Policy 2020, which basically said that a student would have to study compulsorily up to class 5 in the native language and thereafter shift to English medium for higher studies. Now, I would park this thought over here now, because I would take it up later. And second policy that I would come to discuss now is CET, Common Entrance Test. The central government is proposing that we have a common entrance test for all government exams across India, and they're also saying that even private institutions can use this as a marker for deciding if they want to selecting employees. Now, what happens is if we are discussing the language part, the CET common entrance test for all the jobs would obviously be in English first. Second language in which it would be Hindi. That is what I'm speculating, because there's no concrete policy document which has still been released on it. Now what would happen is in the private sector, again, if they also start using it, the mix that we have of the local people everywhere, that would go. Also, since the number of people who would give exams in Hindi would still be higher than the people who would give from say the southern states, because we do not speak Hindi, we would be speaking in English and would taking the exam in English. So this would create a huge difference, and the people, the Hindi speaking and the people from would be higher, and that would also make the people in the southern states at a disadvantage, because of which the chances of them getting jobs would depreciate. For example, if there is a exam for, say, two exams that I would like to tell. Very good. One is NEET. NEET exam, they unified it, saying that there's one exam for medical entrance all over India. Now, what that has done for Karnataka as a state is students from Karnataka are at a disadvantage, because the number of medical colleges in Karnataka is higher than any other state, or most of the states, and because of which previously when there were all these medical entrance exams held in Karnataka, the children from Karnataka got higher priority to get into these seats, and that's why you can see Karnataka was producing more number of doctors than other states. And now, another argument that you would say is, why not give equal opportunity to all? The point is, if there has to be an equal opportunity, in my opinion, all these states should develop it locally. It should not be like if, for example, Tamil Nadu or Karnataka or Andhra Pradesh or Kerala develop these facilities. It is because they planned it and developed it. So if we want to decentralize it, then decentralization should be there. Why not have medical instead of forcing people from other states to come and study in Karnataka and denying the students of Karnataka seats? Why not have medical colleges all across India? The government should work on that instead of trying to put students of one state at disadvantage. Similar. Second point, RRB. That is the full form is Regional Rural Banks. So these are the banks which work in the rural area. There used to be an IBPS notification which said that you have to be a native speaker or you should be a domicile of that state, something like that, to get a job in a rural bank. Why? Because when you are working in a rural bank, you are working in a rural area, you have to speak a language for that. For example, there's a Hindi speaking guy or there's a non-Kannada speaking guy. He goes to work in a rural bank where people don't understand anything. They don't speak anything apart from Kannada. They are literate. Just mind they are literate, but they are literate in Kannada. They can read in Kannada, they can write in Kannada, but they cannot write or communicate in any language other than Kannada. And if there is someone who cannot communicate in Kannada and he is working in a rural bank, the person who would be at a disadvantage would not be the person working in the bank, would be the customer who is going to take the banking services. Because these days, banking has become so intertwined with our life that nobody can get rid of it. Yeah. So 2 exams where people would are actually at a disadvantage. Third, I would just I think now I've finished this part. I would like to give my opinion on this. My opinion. This is the controversial part. If you don't like anything or if you don't agree with anything, just don't start abusing. You can write a counterpoint below. Yeah. So my opinion, we use what is the meaning of language? If I just Google it, the meaning of language, the Google says, I'll also put it up here. Language is a medium of human communication, either spoken or written, and consists of the use of words in a structural or conventional way. So we would basically need language to communicate with people. Yeah, I can communicate with someone in my state in my local language. I can communicate with him in Hindi. I can communicate with him in English, but I can communicate. Point 1. Second, language is also a mean for gaining knowledge. And this knowledge is going to be used by the person who is acquiring the knowledge to live a life, or to say gain employment, or to make an earning, or to earn bread and butter. Yeah. So if I remember, I did engineering, and I don't think there are any engineering books in Hindi or in any other native language. There are no medical books in Hindi or in any other native languages. There are no technical PhDs happening in Hindi or in any other native languages. So if I am someone who is studying Hindi or any other language, then I would not be able to gain a lot of these technical know-hows. And so using this point, what I'm trying to tell you is, learning English as a language instead of say Hindi is more beneficial for anyone, because it helps generate employment for you. It helps. It gives you an opportunity to compete. And when you know English, you are not competing only in India. You are also competing abroad. There are doctors who go abroad. There are engineers who go abroad. There are teachers who go abroad. There are nurses who go abroad. There are people who work in construction. They go abroad. And why I'm saying English is because these days, even if you are working as a security guard or as a delivery boy, people want you. People would prefer if you know English rather than, yeah. So this is something which we have to think. Why are we using language? Why are we trying to force Hindi? Because it's not going to give you an employment. Second argument that people give for forcing Hindi instead of English, or say having Hindi as a common language instead of English, is because they say it's a language from the Britishers. We have been under British colonial rule as a slave, not as as not as a slave, because slave is a little bit too much, because it's bonded labor. We would not doing exactly bonded labor, but yes, mark of colonialism. But now English has become a language of exchange of information. For example, if the Russian and the American have to converse, they would converse in English. If there's a doctor in China and if there's a doctor in USA, they would communicate in English. Even the country with the highest population, China, they are also going towards learning English, because they want more and more jobs. Because the more English we speak, the more we are able to get jobs from the Western countries. India's biggest export at this point of time is IT, and the entire IT industry runs on English. For example, imagine if I speak Hindi or any other vernacular and I do not speak English, then I would not be able to compete globally on IT sector. The programs, the codes, most of them are written in English. So English, in my opinion, is a language which gives you job. Hindi, if you want to make it a national language, would be a language which would be used to communicate with each other and nothing else. And that communication part, I believe personally, can also be done in the local language. There's no need to have Hindi as a language to do it. Yes, now the third argument is, what if a North Indian goes to South, or a South Indian goes to North, or East Indian goes to West, or West Indian goes to East? Anyway, then we can still have English to communicate with each other. Why not? Why do we need Hindi to be that language which people can speak to connect with each other? Why can't it be English? Because then you are communicating inside and you are also being competitive on a global scale. So this would serve. So in my opinion, if there has to be a national language, it should be more as an English, or else there should not be any national language. Any arguments, counter arguments, please put it in the comment. I would try to answer what I could, but I would also like to hear from you. And thank you for being here till the end. Please do subscribe to the channel. Thank you.